Welcome, everyone. We've got a treat for you. We've got Josh Moore, the Ginger Marketer, TikTok, and all of these other great places you can find him. Uh, I I've done you a disservice because the last time I talked to Josh in front of all of you was too long ago. So we're going to bring in Josh a lot more to help you with video, to help you feel a lot more comfortable showing up, to be able to get clients, buyers, sellers, whatever it is. The idea of making video your primary focus for attracting business really is the world that we're in right now. And it should be, if it's not already, it should be an extension of your prospecting. It's what we call it, Josh, for real estate agents, prospecting. Door knocking, open houses, online
Mm.
leads, everything you could think of now, video in the form of attraction. Josh, for those people that don't know you, who are you? How'd you get into this? And what do you do?
So first off, yeah, it has been too long, but I'm glad that we're here today, and I'm looking forward to hopefully helping, jumping on more of these moving forwards. So if you haven't seen me around on TikTok with my like shaking long ginger hair, my name is Josh, aka Ginger Marketer. You can find me on TikTok. My main speciality is helping real estate agents create all types of creators, but very well versed in helping real estate agents to learn how can they use video to attract more of those buyers and sellers through not only kind of mainly short form content, but how that feeds into a bigger piece of the pie, you may say, when it comes to really nurturing them and turning leads into appointments and ultimately into actual clients as well. So I got started. I mean, I understand we're on a time limit here. I got started like just COVID hit, and I was just like, I'm bored. What do I do? So I jumped on TikTok. It was all the rage back then. And I was just like, I don't know what this is. Why am I not at the age of 33 I was at the time? How can I not use this app? So I just set about learning it, dedicated hours and hours just to learn everything. And I just basically, what I learned, I shared. How to go live, how to get confident. I cringe looking back at those videos now. I sounded like a robot, which was like, here is how to go live. And I was just like, wow, I'm so glad that I did it because it really helped me develop as a speaker and as a creator and even as a sales professional as well when it comes to speaking. And I quickly amassed 100,000 followers in 6 months. And I had people reaching out saying, "Hey man, what you up to? How you like doing this?" And I saying, "Cool, I can show you." So people started reaching out, and then after that 6 months, I was earning enough to replace my 9 to 5. I used to work in a marketing and a sales job, and so I quit on my birthday. Funny enough, 4 years ago now, and the rest is history. And since then, I've helped personally over 300 entrepreneurs, and majority being real estate agents. I've helped over 100 real estate agents to learn how they can harness TikTok, how they can attract buyers and sellers, position themselves as the go-to expert, and really just become that local real estate celebrity. I recently had a client who got an interview on is it NBC? NBC, I think it's called. I gotta think what it is. And he was doing like a traffic report for Boston, right? Because they'd found him on TikTok. Um, so that's pretty much the story of it. So a lot of my content is specifically geared towards building a personal brand, how to create the right messaging that attracts the right type of people, using TikTok mindset as well. I know there's beliefs like, oh, people want like how to basically create content quickly without having to spend hours on content creation because we've all got families and other parts of a business to run as well, but also do it in a way that basically aligns with how people want to show up online, right? Authentic to them and not really trying to push them into a box. I never tell my clients that I'm going to ask them to do lip sync videos or dance trends if that's something that they don't feel comfortable with. And it isn't what I think someone who's especially a luxury real estate agent that I've worked with in the past, they don't want to be doing that. So
No.
it's really just that's in the gist of it. That's pretty much what I do. And I mean, personally, I've grown over to 800,000 followers. I looked at a stat the other day, which is pretty mind blowing. I've got over 1.2 billion hours of watch time on my videos of
That's
TikTok, which
crazy, man.
I know. I'm just like, and I was looking at a lifetime of someone. It was like 100,000 years or something crazy. I was like, what? That is and I couldn't fathom it, right? But yeah, so that's a bit about me anyway.
All right, I love that, man. And you're traveling in your motorhome across
Yes.
where the United
Yeah.
Kingdom or what?
Yeah. So I'd amassed a bit of money from this, and I found that I was still really just stuck in an office. Didn't get to spend much time with my family. I've got two under two. And one day I was just thinking, you know what? I'm doing this great thing. I'm making this money and I've got this great business, but I don't feel independent. I don't have that sense of freedom. So I've got the vision and the purpose. So we just sold our home 3 months ago, and we invested that money into an RV, you call it over there, which is a motorhome, and we just travel. Me, my wife, my two children, and my little dog as well. And we're currently just traveling the UK. We're going to go over to Europe in the new year. I'm right now blurred out because this is actually I'm on the driver's seat, funny enough, where I'm recording this video today. And yeah, I choose when I work, where I work, and with who I work with as well. And it's a liberating feeling, but it's that independence, that freedom, and that purpose that I've been searching for so long. And it wouldn't have happened had I not joined TikTok, had I not got all in and been consistent with posting and basically learned what I learned to apply to myself, but also to the 300 plus people that I've directly helped in kind of a coaching capacity as well.
Well, great job, man, because that's how I found you a few years
Yeah.
back. I'm like, who is this guy? He's pretty
Yeah.
good. So
Yeah.
great job. Let's jump right into this. The most challenging thing I find for our world as real estate agents, besides consistency, is creating content and feeling comfortable with just going ahead and posting that content. How do
hmm
you tell agents, hey, create this type of content? How do we find that content and post it quickly?
So I use what's called my everyday content method for this. Now, the biggest challenge that I find amongst real estate agents is one, it's coming up with ideas, and two, it's actually finding the time to create the content. These are the two biggest challenges, right? Because if you don't do those, if you don't have content, you're not going to get leads. And as a byproduct of posting, usually the leads will come. So when I talk about my everyday content method, most agents have got clients that they work with, or they're speaking to buyers and sellers. They've
Yep.
got open houses, they've got listings, they're fielding questions when people say, "Hey, what's the real estate market doing?" So I said, take what you're doing and basically just talk about it. Talk about the questions people are asking about interest rates. Talk about the questions about how to increase your home value, but talk directly from your own experience. The reason is that in this day and age, education is free. Anyone can go and get educated. But if
Hmm.
you actually show up as that expert and that leader and actually talk about what you're currently doing, people will see you as the authority and the leader, right? If you're talking about how you just closed a property, or you just helped a young couple who went to three other agents and they couldn't find a home, or basically a lender that can help them, and you hooked them up with your lender that got them a great rate and they were able to get that home, you're talking about your own lived through experiences, and it's more kind of documenting rather than telling, because not many people like to be told to. So
Mm-mm.
I would say using what you're currently working on and just talking about it, because then it's kind of like when you go home at the end of the day and your wife, your husband, your partner said, "Hey, cool, so how was work, honey?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, I had this really great conversation." And he asked this question, and you just let all this information out to your partner, which is
Yeah.
great, but why not share that information to the wider public, because they may be interested in that as well. And I used to just do the educational content and it served me well. And I
Yeah.
definitely I was in a blue ocean. There weren't many people doing TikTok coaching and that, but now
Mhm.
it's very saturated. But it's how to go live, 3 tips to grow on TikTok versus here's how I was able to get 100,000 followers in 6 months without dance trends. That hits a lot different to like how to get 100,000 followers.
So
So
you would say if I'm applying this to me as a real estate agent, you'd say how I was able to help a first-time home buyer not only find their first home, but do it in 45 days. Okay,
yeah,
I love
yeah,
this. This is good. We overcomplicate it, man. Josh, it's so
yeah.
I feel like sometimes it's so difficult. I've got to like, okay, this has got to be right. This has got to be right. But
hmm
when you said you just we sometimes just talk to our significant other, our spouse, right, our friends, and be like, "Oh
Hmm.
man, I got to tell you what happened with this one," and we just kind of spill it out. That's the exact same thing you should be putting on video. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah, because it's an amplification of the conversations that you're already having, right? So instead of being at one to one, like I'm speaking here, I'm doing it one to potentially many. And of
Mhm.
those many, the chances of you attracting or finding those buyers and sellers is greatly amplified. And it's the mindset to go into that where it's like you're not creating, you're documenting, right? And you're not telling, you're showing.
You're showing.
You're not educating, you're lending insight and giving people information based on your expertise and your experience. Now, with that said, there is still obviously some teaching to be done
Yep.
as we think about, especially like I'm doubling down a lot more on YouTube this year, as I find that the short form is great to really attract people and to kind of get people into your world and get millions of views, but to go on that deeper level into who you are as a creator. So pairing that with something like YouTube, for example, where if you, for example, were talking about like, hey, here's how I helped this first time home buyer buy their first home in 45 days, even when no other lender in the city would even touch them because of their credit score, then
Got
you
it.
go into your YouTube video where you maybe do a 30-minute full breakdown, got an iPad out and you're drawing it all out. It allows you almost to go to give the full movie, and the trailer is almost like the TikTok video.
Got it. Yeah, I don't
And
know that we go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
No, I don't know that we do that well enough, man, as an industry, because I'm always thinking uh, we're always telling people, right,
Hmm.
instead of showing them, right? And in the showing, I think, is where we capture people through the stories, right?
100%.
Do you think
Yeah.
that this year, from what you're watching, as far as video trends, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, do you think that that's still the case where we have to show up more in the form of storytelling instead of telling?
I think yes. Now it's very much kind of thinking about like showing up more. It's making sure that more not necessarily is more content, right? Because there's a difference between quality and quantity. And I tested this recently. I was posting 10 TikTok videos a day, and I actually found that the reach was a lot less than maybe if I was posting 1 to 3 TikTok videos that I really thought about. So when we talk about going more, it's really going more into who you are as a person outside of being a real estate agent and creating a niche of one. Because ultimately, if you're a real estate agent and you're selling, 20 homes a year, and you've got another real estate agent who's selling 10 homes a year, you may naturally go with the 20 homes a year if it was just on paper. But we're not talking about paper here. We're talking about social media, where people follow other people because of who they are as a person. And as a byproduct of that, even if you've only ever sold one home, but they really like who you are, your values, your beliefs, what you stand for, the vision, your purpose, and they want to be a part of that, they'll probably be more likely to work with you, even though you've maybe got one deal or 10 deals, versus someone that's got 20 deals. Because that's
Got it.
and it's a difference between maybe outside of social media where you can just go like and you know, go and Google someone and they'll be like, oh, he sold 100 homes, I'll go with him. Because most of the time, people will really not necessarily fall in love, but really develop that deeper level of trust for the actual person. And these are the clients that not only just do one transaction with you, they become lifetime clients. So I think it's going more into more who you are as a person. What do you stand for? Why are you a real estate agent? What are you doing this for? Right? Are you doing this so you can create wealth for your family? How's that working out for you? Are you buying Airbnbs? Are you doing wholesaling with the money you're making from your commission check? Right? Because again, that's maybe the path that some other people want to do who are buying properties as well, or they have a plan to do that. So sharing more or posting more, but posting more about who you are and sharing your story. I talk
Yeah.
around that. So it's called like philosophy, right? Where it's what do you see in the real estate world that not many others are seeing right now? What do you stand for? What are your beliefs? What are your values? What do you care most about in the world outside of real estate? And what that does, it allows you to, I call this the bullseye method, right? And you think about your ideal seller is in the middle of a dartboard in a bullseye. Now
Hmm.
it's a lot harder to throw a dart and hit that bullseye if you just throw them one dart at a time. So try throwing
Yeah.
lots of darts, and maybe that's an extension of who you are outside of being a real estate agent,
Hmm.
that you'll be able to hit more of those bullseyes and attract more of those people because it is a reach game. You know, if you went viral, you're more likely to get buyers rather than if you only got 300 views. So it's about dialing out, just not only doing real estate.
So when you're looking at creating content, or better yet, when you're helping us agents, because you help a lot of agents, when you're
Mm.
helping us agents or business owners in creating content, right? What is it the first thing that you tell us to do? Like, do you say, hey, it's time to tell a story and here's how, right? Because a lot of
Mm.
us aren't comfortable telling our story. A lot of us aren't even comfortable on video, man. Like we're scared of
Mm.
our, so where do we go with this?
Well, the first thing is obviously mindset. It's understanding that all these beliefs that you have about yourself, how you sound, how you look, how people may judge you, is all just a figment of your imagination. So I always question, right? Play the judge, jury, and executioner, right? And a good one I like to think is like when you go to the gym, how many people are you looking at and questioning about what they look like, how they're working out, right? Not many, because you're so focused on yourself. And it's the same with when you're scrolling social media. How do you care about how someone looks, how someone sounds, or are you just thinking this made me laugh? Oh, this is really fun and entertaining. I'm going to share with a friend. And that's the way you need to think about. So you need to think about this in the sense of no one cares what you sound like. No one cares what you look like. All they want to know is that are you going to give me value, which is, education, motivation, inspiration. Am I going to get something from this? It's going to help me. That's the first one. That's the first big step. And then secondly, I just look at like, cool, what's going on in your world right now? What are you working on? How many deals have you been closing? What buyers are you working with? What sellers are you working with? Where are you going this weekend with your kids? Are you going to the local park? Cool. Why'd you go to that park? Overall, how are there any other parks in the area that, and
Mm.
it's kind of really talking about because you want to become that local expert, you want to become that real estate expert, but you also want to become a human and show people a human being side and be relatable as a human being, right? And I think a lot of real estate agents maybe feel scared about that because there's questions like, well, what if people don't think I'm professional? What if people judge me? What if people don't want to work with me? What if you know, I get in I'd always say check any like I always say double check with like your broker and that if there's anything terms, conditions, all that kind of stuff as well. I don't specialize in that, so I always say be careful what you do say. Um, and I say just talk about it, right? And understand that you're going to make mistakes, but done is better than perfect. And if you just understand that it's just going to click into place if you just show up and be consistent. And what I actually really, a lot of what my agents that I work with really value is that I just go into their content, I give them direct feedback. I'm like, cool, let's dive into the analytics. This one only got, it's a 60-second video, only got 6 seconds watch time. Cool, let's see how we can maybe make this into a 6-second trend instead. Or where do we trim some of this
Oh.
fat because you're losing a lot of people. That's why you're 300 views. And let's just test and optimize. And I think that's what a lot of people don't want to do. They'll just do one post, it flops, and they're like, "Cool, I'm done. I give up." Right?
Yeah, that is
I
what
could get,
happens.
you could give me one idea now, and I could give you 20 different ways that we can post that idea, but it's the same idea.
Okay, so then with the agents or business owners, either one, that you've helped that have had the best success with you, what has been the
Hmm.
difference with them? Like I want to know what happened with those that we can emulate as we're listening in.
Cool. So there's two agents that come to mind. One is one's out of Boston, and the other one is I can't recall where it's East Coast basically, but both the same, right? One is they're not caring what people think of them or what people say about them. They're just going with so much of their own character and personality that there's no fear because they understand that Once you become fearful, you become constricted. Once you become constricted, you become very careful, right? And you don't want to, you always like treading lightly. You're using Chat GPT to go and, oh, check if this script is all right. And then that just becomes so scripted and so robotic. They just talk to the camera. They just share what's going on in their world. If they go and eat somewhere, they don't say this is the most amazing lobster roll. They say it was not that nice, right? And they
Okay.
just and they share a lot of these different things as well, and they share about their losses. Hey, this I didn't win this deal. Oh yeah, I really messed up for my buyer. And they just talk openly about that, knowing that people appreciate the honesty a lot more than just be like what a traditional social media business owner would be like, hey, my life is perfect, right? Go look at me. So I think
Mm.
it's just really showing up unapologetically and not being afraid to actually say what you want to say. Because I feel, especially when we work in sales, and we're all sales people in business, you're always selling, and just in life, everyone sells something. You sell your partner on, a specific restaurant when they want to go to another restaurant. But it's really just giving people the right information as to say, like, this is what you should do, this is what you shouldn't do. And I think
How do you get
just
there, Josh? It's so tough just to putting that fear aside. Is it really just a bunch of
it's
practice
reps. That's all it
reps?
is, right? It's
Yeah.
reps and it's discipline, because people will say they'll rely on motivation so much, and motivation dwindles. Like you can see, it's the 2nd of Jan, and people are already regretting, getting up and doing 5 kilometer runs every day. They're like, I can't sustain this, right? So so it's just because the motivation would dwindle. So it's just putting in the reps, but it's understanding, and it's removing emotions, which is the hardest thing. Okay, because you get so emotionally invested and you like, hey, I'll put so much time and effort into this and it's not giving me the results. Not knowing
Yeah.
that, hey, if you only did it for one more day, you've got a $1 million seller who's got $1 million home, and they're literally waiting for you to post, or so you're only ever one post away. And I think
Mm.
it's tough. Social media is tough, but understand that everything that you do is in your control, right? If your posts are flopping, that's not the algorithm's fault. That's your fault, because you haven't learned how to create the right hooks. You haven't learned how to create the right storytelling. You haven't learned how to use the right type of formats or the right type of deliverables to showcase the listing, right? You're choosing carousels with Comic Sans as a font when really you should be doing slow moving videos if it's a luxury listing, for example, and teasing people with the price and encouraging them to reach out to you.
Okay.
I
So
think
when we're looking at that then, and you mentioned two things here for us that I want to focus on. Number one, hooks. What hooks have you seen work well? Right? Is it a specific set of words, or is it maybe the idea of something? And then number two, so I don't forget, how often should we be posting as agents?
so. The answer to the second question I'll kind of get onto is, well, when it comes to hooks, it's curiosity driven hooks have I found to be the most compelling, which is kind of like I was recently working with an agent and she got scammed on, I think it was Craigslist. And she's like, I just got
Mm.
scammed on Craigslist and I lost $1,000. Right? So it's curiosity. It's like,
That
hey,
is,
for example, it's like the roof just caved in on my seller's house, and I'm not sure what I'm gonna do next. Right? That leads people in to be like,
mm.
oh, okay. Or a good example is like, hey, here's why you've been trying to sell your house and you're not getting many people interested. Right? Here's why it's lending insights, right? So example is like You've probably been you've probably been told that you've probably been told that you need to do this you probably need to be told that you need to do this when selling your home, but it's actually the worst thing that you can do. Here's why. So you can see here, just like you've probably been told that you need to like repaint your home when selling it to increase the value. Here's why that could end up actually losing you money when it comes to listing. Again, I'm not saying this is an exact example, but using the word tracks here, that's like, oh, versus here's how to increase the value of your listing. You see how they hit
Mm,
a bit, they see how they hit a little bit different. The next one's
yeah.
like, even your facial expression naturally led to curiosity when your body language tells me now, right? And that just that how that you just kind of said, and the facial expression, you were naturally curious and leaning in. Now, when you're watching a video, it's like, oh, actually, this is something I probably should listen to because I'm thinking about selling my house, right? And on the
Dude,
second question, go ahead.
you just gave me an idea, which is it's yours. When you mentioned, and this is for everybody, so listen in. I'm just going to expand on what Josh said that's important. The challenge that we have during our transactions is not only a challenge for us, it's a challenge for everyone out there. So if our buyer or our seller just got angry or they're having a fit or something just went crazy, that's your hook for the story you're about
Mm,
to tell. Because that's the lesson we all want to know. And dude, when you said that, I'm like, oh man, got scammed. And then I applied it to real estate. I'm like, wait a second, I've had so many issues. I had I had one person give me a request for repairs of $100,000 on a $600,000 home. Like that is an amazing hook. It's like, what could be on this request for
yeah,
repairs,
and
right?
it's so absurd that the scale. If you said like, "Hey, I just got a $10,000 bill," I could believe that, and it wouldn't sound as crazy. But because you stretch the absurdity of the 100,000 for 600,000, people are like, "What the hell have you done to your house? Why is it so expensive?" Right? And so it
Curiosity. I'm
It,
leaning
and
in.
it, yeah, I'm leaning in because it's like, well, there's many questions. Like, one, what have you done to the house? Two, what are the repairs? Three, did you pay it or not? Right? Four, it could be like, what house do you own that's worth 600,000? Because I'd like to see it. So there's many, and the curiosity, you have so many questions that you're hoping the video would answer.
Yeah,
If you don't answer those questions in the video, what happens next? People ask questions
leave.
in the
Yeah, and
comments.
questions. Oh, that's
They
good. What
ask,
happened? What happened with that?
yeah.
Oh, I like it.
So you can
And
leave
then
them in. It's like follow for part two, right? And I'll let you know if I paid the bill or not. And
that's it. That's it. And you can use the comments as more videos, right?
yeah, or you could record yourself having a call with the person and them quoting you 100,000. And you could record yourself like look. So
That's great.
it that's a really kind of popular hook. And the best way, if anyone's watching this, the best way that you can do this is to like just basically explain what. So comedians on TikTok will do a funny thing where they'll tell the punchline at the start. And then you're like, well, what's the punch? Where's the joke? So then they tell the joke and they put the punchline at the end. So
Mm,
they lead with you when you tell a story, lead with what happened. My wife just kicked me out the house, and you won't believe the reason why. Right. So I just was at work, I went to Costco and I just got home and da da da. But then you can say, well, she didn't kick me out. She had to kick me out because I forgot to get the milk. Right. So you could do a little tease at the end where it's you're
so
leading
good.
into it, but you're kind of tricking. And on the second question there, when it comes to like how often should you post, there's a I can't remember. Glenda Baker is a very big creator, for example, on TikTok. If you don't know who
Yep.
she is, go check her out. She does amazing storytelling. She's got a format that works. She's in front of the camera, she's talking, she's sharing stories, so she doesn't have to do volume and actually do worse than better. So she can just do one post a day, one post a week, because she's got the volume and the reach and the referrals.
Yep. Yep.
On the flip side, if you're but it's only because she's put in the reps. And it wasn't her first rodeo where she's, hey, I'm going to post this video, it works. She's probably done 100, if not 1,000 iterations of that to get to that point,
Mm,
right? But where a lot of people stop is they'll just post one, 10 times, give up, not knowing that if you do 100 more times, you'll learn so much more and you'll have more data to go back. It's called Glenda Baker. There's another guy that was doing speed tours where he's running around speed tour and he's just running around as quick as possible. Young college kid, racked up millions of views, right? And he's
yeah.
like speed tour, and he puts sexual innuendos. He's got memes in there. Um, and he could just do that because he's found it, so he doesn't have to test. But if you go back to his account, he used to do teaching whiteboard on TikTok, which got zero views basically. So
Wow.
if you're just starting out, understand it's a numbers game. But you need to understand that question, why do I feel that this didn't get the result that I hoped for? Right? Just challenge yourself to be like, look at it again. Like for example, you go to pitch a client, you go to a client, you ask for their like listing and you don't get it. You're not going to be like, cool, next one. You're going to be like, where did I mess up? What could I have done differently in the pitch or how I showed up to maybe get that listing next time?
Mm,
And
got
that's what
it.
you need to do with your content. So if you're just starting out, volume 3 to 5 times a day at least. If you're a bit more seasoned, go back and look at your most successful posts and just do slight iterations. You can maybe get away with a post a day. I say the sweet spot is about 3 posts a day. I do about 3 posts a day. It takes me about 10 minutes to do each post, all of them in total from start to finish because I'm speedy at it.
Where do you get your ideas from as a content creator? Because I think that's what we're also looking for. If we haven't had a recent experience with a client, or we're just not as
Yeah.
creative looking at stories, where do you get yours?
It doesn't have to be a recent, it could be one from 6 months ago. I could ask you, tell me about the most amazing transformation in terms of transaction that you've ever had. And you could go on to say, I met this young family and they were struggling. They were in
Yeah.
like government housing, didn't have any savings, didn't have any credit, and then now they live in like a triplex or something, right? So it doesn't have to be a recent, but there's always a transfer of energy, emotion in recency, right? So me talking about what's just happened at the dinner table 20 minutes ago with my young kids, there's going to be a certain energy than me telling you what happened 6 months ago when we sat at the dinner table and had food, even if I can remember it. But I would say, looking at I call it content hacking, taking inspiration from others. Because if there's an idea that's been validated, you just need to basically repurpose it in your own way. So when I mentioned speed tour, right? How about slow tour? Very slow. This is the bedroom, right? The opposite. But it's the same
Yeah.
concept, it's an idea. Or instead of speed tour, how about like making it gamification? There was a recent creator where she's like, hey, I'm gonna play hide and seek in my listing, try and find me.
Yeah.
And she's like, can you see me? Hey,
Yeah, that one was
and
really
she's
good.
like, she's like, I bet you thought I was behind the curtain. Well, actually, I'm under the table. And like she's dressing in kind of camouflage, right? So, but it's lending into the gamification of it as well. Take that, maybe make another game of it. Play snakes and ladders. Put big snakes and ladders around and say, hey, where are we gonna take the dice? And you just run to the different dice,
Mm,
right? Maybe you get like a blueprint and like, hey, so what room do we see next? Roll the dice. Lounge. Cool. Let's run to the lounge real quick and I'll go check that out.
that's a
So you
great
see how
idea.
I'm taking, yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
get excited dice, depending on how many rooms there are.
yeah,
Roll it.
but again, I'm just trying to take a proven idea and I'm just because again, it's hard to force creativity. If you don't feel like it, you don't feel like it. So you go for a walk, you'll find some ideas. Have a shower, you'll find some ideas. Scroll on social media, you'll find some ideas. But people will constantly complain, I don't know what to post, I don't have any ideas. It's because you're not putting yourself in the best position to win. And when you try and force it, right, we know that creativity can't be forced. It almost needs to be like it's almost like to be adopted from something. You adopt creativity from actions that you take to become creative.
I love that. All right, there's a question for you. By the way, everyone, I put up Josh's link there so that you can take a look at his website. It's got other stuff in there as well, so take a look there. Tom's got a question. I have absolutely amazing gold stories from being a residential appraiser. Can that be integrated into my new life as a real estate agent? How would you do that, Josh?
Mm, I would always just try and really, again, it comes to like, would this be interesting to a potential like seller or potential buyer, right? If the answer is no, just stay away from it. But there's certain angles that you can take to attract that kind of type of audience as well, right? I wouldn't want you talking about like for example, if you're a real estate agent, like complaining that no one's buying in this market and all that kind of stuff, right? So
Yeah, no,
I would look at that. I would go ahead.
I, I agree, Josh. I think with Tom, you gave me an idea. Tom, there have been many transactions that we deal with when FHA or VA or some USDA, not as many, create a challenge for us. And you, as an appraiser, have lived that more than we have. So there was one time
Mm,
when I was dealing with an FHA loan where the last thing we had to do to make it go through was somebody had to paint the fence. Somebody had to paint the freaking fence white. And that somebody was me because
right.
nobody else was going to do it. So, I mean, I bet you have a ton of stories like that, Tom. Things that get difficult that for some loans that the appraiser has to go through. Yeah, that's key right
But
there.
but it's also understand like how does that help position you as the choice for buyers and sellers, right? So for me, that positions you because you're someone that is prepared to get dirty and prepared to see it through the finish line because that's the last bit, right? And you could have said, no, I'm not going to do this. You have to go and hire some contractors, knowing that could take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, cost them three, four, 500. I don't know how much, but it's like, you know
Yeah.
what? Give me the damn paintbrush. I'm just going to go and paint this fence for you,
Yeah.
right? So you
That's
could
it.
say like, specifically, you could talk to your audience here. Could be maybe second time sellers, third time sellers, right? You say like, so the biggest one of like you could talk about like the hardest. I don't think I was like trying to think of like a good hook here as well, but maybe not even second time, but it's like when you're about to sell your home, there's going to be certain things that come up that are going to be completely unexpected and out of your control. And this was a good example of this, how I saved the day when this deal could have fallen flat or fallen through or something along
Yeah.
those lines. I'm trying, I probably would actually, I'd probably come from a different angle actually with that one, but I'd probably need a bit of time to sit and brainstorm. But yeah, talking about stories, talking about like bad things that you've seen on appraisals that are really
Yeah.
like damages the value of a home is I saw that on the outside this house was amazing, but I saw that this like, they'd done something in the basement which really didn't help when it comes to selling their house. They'd actually done
Yeah.
this, right?
That's true, Josh. And Tom's saying, I was thinking about giving seller tips on how to streamline their home sales by fixing minor health and safety issues. Tom, I would not lead with that, in fact. I would lead with the story of something that was a health issue and then explain it. Because the story is the thing that's going to
Mm.
hook me, right? That's
But
what's
you
going to
also
lock me in.
when we need to understand the intention and the desire of a buyer and the desire of a seller. A seller usually wants a quick sale and want to make the most money, right?
Yeah.
On the flip side, a buyer wants to save money and make sure they're getting the best value for their money, right? So when you speak to potential reasons that could affect your home sale price and you could get less, right? I.e., painting your house pink, right? That could make your home not as valuable than if it was just a neutral color or something, just in the eyes of like who you may get through the door, just from those listing photos, for example.
Yeah.
And that could have a big knock-on effect of people that click through and actually inquired to go and visit the listing.
Yeah. Dude, you're giving me so many ideas now. Josh is starting with stories. Like the time I used to door knock a lot. So back in the day canvassing. And
Mm,
I got a shotgun pulled on me one
wow.
time. And the guy just like aimed it at my chest and pushed me out. Like I wasn't even up, just knocking. And I was like, that's a great hook, right?
Yeah.
So
So, for
uh
example, like a good hook would be like, did I ever tell you about the time that I knocked on my neighbor's door and he nearly shot me in the chest?
yeah, that's funny. Some guy, Tom says, "Welcome to Bakersfield." By the way, Josh, Bakersfield's uh, considered one of the not safest areas in California, according to some stats. Uh, Let me laugh at that. A good one, Tom. Josh, what's the best site to go to? Is it the one? Let me share my screen just so
Yeah.
that you tell me if this is the right one. Is this the right one right here that I'm looking at?
So that's the one as it stands now. That's where you can go and book in a call with me and you could just see some of the results that I've got there and I mean, I've got a whole Google Drive of results, 200 odd plus pages. But yeah, so this is the site here. If you want to book a call with me, I offer like a free complimentary TikTok growth session. Basically, it's where I just ask you questions, learn a bit more about your situation, your account, your goals, and basically just what you feel the roadblocks are that are preventing you from getting more buyers and sellers on TikTok. And if it makes sense, I then basically invite you to an opportunity where I'll walk you through how I can actually personally help you, and we build out a personalized strategy in terms of how you can create content that does convert into buyers and sellers. So for anyone that is interested in that and they want an automated content machine that brings them buyers and sellers without them having to spend hours every day trying to think about what to post and how to post, and they don't want to be out in the winter cold or door knocking, right? And they hate cold calling and they don't like spending their weekends going to networking events. If that sounds like you, and instead you want to learn how to create content that actually brings buyers and sellers to you, even while you sleep, then I'd definitely book in a call.
I love that. And by the way, everyone, this doesn't just work for TikTok, it's video in general too. So Instagram, Facebook
Yeah,
Reels, YouTube Shorts, anywhere that has the capability of uploading video to these social
100%.
outlets, that's
Yeah,
the place as well. So,
100, yeah,
Josh,
100%.
thank you for doing this, man. While you're on the driver's seat of your motorhome, I appreciate you.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's fine. I
Uh,
appreciate it. Thank you.
So what's next for you, man? Do you go to sleep around this time? Maybe 9 p.m. What it's 6 p.m. your time, 6:30?
Um, are we off now? Or is still on?
No,
Okay,
we're still
we're
on. We're
still on.
still
Okay,
on. Yeah, I
cool.
just want to know what you do after, like with everybody.
Uh, so I actually, because the time differences, I usually work 2 p.m. my time till 10 p.m. UK time. So my kids have just been put to bed. I kind of hear them in the background. So my wife has just been kind of telling them to literally, it's
It's,
seven, the motorhome that we live in is 7 meters long by 3 meters wide. So we think square footage, it's not that much once you've got beds and um like just a very small gangway. So it's very noise travels. But
yeah,
I work till 10 tonight, and then probably this weekend we're gonna head out to just some old country homes and castles. I've got my 2-year-old boy loves castles, and
that's cool.
we're blessed to have so many castles here. So we usually visit at least 3 to 5 castles a week right now.
Um,
Um, and I'm booking an experience actually for his birthday in July where we're actually going to stay in a castle. So his third birthday, we're actually going to stay in a castle for his birthday because he loves them so much. Um, and yeah, so we'll travel. Probably we're on the road tomorrow, so we'll do a bit of wild camping, which is where we basically stay overnight in car parks or the side of a road, and we just go really covert with it all as well. So we're
that's
doing that for
awesome.
the week. We're doing that for the weekend, and then um we're just slowly meandering across the UK and until my wife's visa gets approved, and then hopefully that's end of Jan, Feb. Then we're just going to get on the ferry and do France, Spain, um, perhaps Germany. I'm thinking, and we'll just see how the wind takes us, basically.
That's cool. Very good, Josh. All right. Thank you for doing this. Thanks everybody else for tuning in. We appreciate all of you. Have an awesome day. Thanks,
Cheers,
Josh.
everyone.
I'll hit you up
Thank you.
after, man. All
Yeah,
right.
cool.